Jerry, could you state your full name for the record?
My name is Jerry McDowell, and I live at 4839 Shetland Avenue, Oakland, California.
So we know you're in trucking now, but would you tell us what was your prior avocation?
For 22 years, I was a California Highway Patrol officer. I graduated from the academy in August of 1990. I worked 13 years in Hayward, and then I worked the last 9 years at the Mission Grade Scales as a commercial officer.
In that latter capacity, did you encounter CARB people?
Yes, I did. They used to come up to the scales. I worked at the Mission Grade Scales, which is on 680 at the top of the Sonoma grade, which is north of Fremont, San Jose. And CARB will periodically come there. At that facility, we have three, it's an indoor facility. We have three big main doors. So they would come up and block the lane, not block the lane, but a guy would stand out in one of the lanes and pull the truck over and then have the truck come over and inspect it.
What did you observe?
Well, I observed them, they would, get the guy's information, of course, open the hood up. They would stick that thing up in the exhaust. And, pardon me? I'm sorry, I'm a country boy from Mississippi. I came to California and my voice, I learned how to talk a little faster. Okay, I'll slow down, thank you, I'm sorry. Okay, so what would happen is the CARB guy would pull the trucker in, and then first thing he would check is to see if he had the sticker on his engine and see if it was EPA or California, the truck would met the standards of the emissions for California. Then they would, I don't know if the thing is called that they put in the tailpipe to check that, to check the exhaust. And then if the guy had a reefer trailer, he would check and make sure that the reefer trailer was compliant. So one day I went out there. Let me give you guys a little more background before I continue on, if that's okay. I know I'm the last person. My background is I grew up in Mississippi. I'm a country boy. I was born by a midwife. I lived on a farm, a shotgun house, no running water, so I'm into nature. I hunt, fish, plow the mule, fix all that stuff. So when I grew up, I wanted to be a truck driver. I became a highway patrolman. Let me slow down. I became a highway patrolman.
This nice lady will like you a lot more if you did.
Hey, I'm like an artist, man. I got so much on my mind, I got to get it out. Okay, I became a highway patrolman because I wanted to make a contribution to society, and I wanted to, help people. And so when I went to the scales, I had the opportunity to get involved in trucking. To see trucks up close. As part of my training to be a commercial officer, I had to go to a 3-week school to learn how to inspect trucks, to do level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, hazmat, cargo. Then later on, I went and did motor coach, so how to inspect buses. I have a Class A license. I've had, when you're talking about diesel trucks, in the 90s, I had 3 diesel trucks. I had 3 diesel pickups, and then I got a FL60 in 2001 because I used to do rodeos. I was team roper and stuff, calf roper. So I had diesel trucks, and so I'm familiar with diesel products and stuff. So anyway, go back to your point. So I would ask the CARB guy. I said, okay, you guys come here. What authority do you have to pull a truck over and inspect it? And they have like what I call like the Martin Lawrence type of little uniform where they have the little sticker on there to make them look like they are law enforcement. So he said, the guy told me, actually we don't really, if the guy don't want to really stop, he don't have to. But he said, most truckers don't know that, so they don't stop. I said, oh wow. I said, okay, so you telling me if a guy doesn't have a compliant truck, in terms of if the tailpipe blow something that you guys don't like, you're going to give him a ticket? He goes, yeah. I said, well, how much is that ticket? $1,000. I said, how are you going to write a guy a ticket for $1,000 just because? And there's no smoke coming out of his. Engine. That's the law. You should know it. And then if he didn't have the sticker, the EPA sticker on the truck, that's another $500 fine. And if the CARB reefer was not compliant, that was $800. So I said, basically, you guys are putting people out of business. And he said, well, it's the law.
What was the authority under which they were able to inspect?
I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Did they ever tell you under what authority?
No. I mean, for highway patrol, it's 2813 BC. We can pull a person over. Let me just say this for the record. I'm a former, honorably retired highway patrolman. So everything I'm saying now is I'm a citizen and based on my experience as a highway patrolman. So I'm not speaking for the highway patrol. I'm saying that. I just want to put it on the record. Because I mean, I know the commissioner. I respect the highway patrol. It's a great agency. Go ahead.
So you've been retired from the highway patrol for 3 years?
Yes, sir.
And you're now a trucker yourself?
If y'all familiar with that old show, I'm Jamaican. I got many jobs. Okay. I'm also, when I retired, I started driving tour buses for Royal Coach. And as you know, you guys know John Madden is, right? Mm-hmm. I drive for him. In fact, I got to fly out tonight to Tennessee to pick up his bus. Him and another driver. I'm third on the depth chart. There's JJ, then there's a guy named Chad, and then me. I got to fly to Tennessee tonight to pick up the bus. We took it down there 2 weeks ago. Had a generator fixed. I also drive big rigs for race teams, and also I just started working last week for this company called CARB, which is one of the companies I wanted to talk about later that had to sell their trucks. So yeah.
Let's talk about CARB now.
Okay. All right, CARB is a transport company out of San Leandro, California. I met those guys probably about 5 or 6 years ago. One of my things about trucks is these trucks used to come in, man, they lit up like a Christmas tree. So PG, looked like they had a huge PG&E bill because they had so many lights on it. And their trucks were well kept, they were beautiful. And I started talking to the guys, and we ended up becoming friends. And then, I became friends with them because those guys, they took care of their truck. And I had a Class A license, but I didn't have air brakes endorsement. My Freightliner didn't have air brakes, so I didn't need them. So I eventually got my air brakes endorsement by driving one of their trucks, but I didn't get paid for it because as a highway patrolman, you can't work as a trucker and get paid. So I learned how to drive through their trucks. And CARB had 28 trucks at the time. And then because of the CARB regulation, they had to sell all of those trucks and buy new trucks. So they went from all their trucks being paid off to starting all over again. One of the trucks that I learned on was an 18-speed Peterbilt with a 327-inch wheelbase. That it was an 09, but it had an 08 engine. But that truck, between 09 and 2010, 2011, went in the shop 41 times. And I remember one time, Romero used to drive their set of twin brothers, Rafael and Romero. The truck broke down in El Paso. He had to get towed to Phoenix. That was $5,000. They fixed it. He got to Twisterman Road on 5. It broke down again. That was another $5,000.
But Jerry, why did he break down?
Because of the EG, what's that thing called? That sensor, the ERG or EGR. I can't. Let me put my glasses on.
The sensor?
Yeah, it's a sensor. It's related to the DPF. But that truck had a filter on it. It was related to the filter. And the truck would always get the codes and stuff, and then they have to go fix it, and it just kept breaking down. So back to CARB. So CARB went from 28 trucks down to 18. So I was talking to them. That's an additional cost to them of $20,000 a month just for truck fees, right? So the money that they were gonna make from having all their trucks paid off, they ended up having to sell their trucks. Now the trucks that they sold didn't break down. I mean, they have, every truck gonna break down, but not like these trucks. And those trucks most of them ended up in Mexico and Texas. So, and that's another thing for all you business people here, that CARB has created a huge market for used trucks for out of the state. So all that profit that you guys will be getting is going in somebody else's coffer in another state.
Plus, they're getting them at a very good price, are they
Very
not? Because
good
the
price.
market's flooded, as we've heard here today.
I wanted to just, I'm a visual person. So I had these pictures made. That was my truck right there. I bought this truck 2013, right? The trailer that's on there, I bought it from that race team, and then they hired me to pull the trailer. See, that's how you do it, you know? So I was taking an Infinity, but that truck, I paid $5,500 for that truck. All right? Yeah, it was an 87. The truck, you can pass it around. Somebody wants to. The truck was an 87. It was an 87 with 600,000 original miles of 13 speed. I had the truck from from October 2013 to January 5th of this year when I sold it, and I cried like a baby, just like you did. It hurts. It hurts. But that truck I never had one problem with it. It never broke down. It never put me on the side of the road. Okay? So, but so I can keep talking about a lot of stuff, man. I got a lot of stuff here.
So your current employer, they had 28 trucks,
Yes,
sold
sir.
them out of state, purchased 18 new ones.
Yeah.
Have
well,
any idea what that cost turnaround was? What they sacrificed and lost in selling off the 28 trucks at a discount and then having to buy new trucks? Have any idea what that did to them?
They had to borrow $1 million,
There
and
we
then
go.
they had to take money out of their house also.
Seems like we've heard that number before today.
Yeah, it's
Like at the previous witness.
the trucks, like the truck I drive now is a 2010 ProStar, International ProStar, and I think this truck has like 400-some thousand miles on it. And I drove it. I just went to Arizona. I left Saturday. I got down there Sunday, and it's a pretty good truck right now. But they've had to do work on it. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the trip from the Bay Area to Arizona,
Okay.
and you made certain observations.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
What I've been doing since I've been retired, I mean, I've been really frustrated with what's been going on with CARB and what I call the destruction of the trucking industry and businesses. And so I always engage and talk to people. Part of my job as a highway patrolman was I was a public relations guy. I was a PR guy. I talked to the media a lot. So I talked to people. I was on my way down. I stopped at the Grapevine, and there was a driver in there, and we started talking. He told me he got a ticket down in Ontario for idling his truck 6 minutes. Now his truck has a sticker on the side that says clean idle truck, and I told him, I said, man, if your truck is a clean idle truck, they can't write you a ticket for that. He said, well, they did. And here's another thing that you guys may not know. Like down in there, say like through Palm Springs, they get up to about 118, 20 degrees, right? Well, we have to take a 10-hour break. All right, the truck I'm in, it dies every 5 minutes. So if it's 118 degrees and I'm trying to go to sleep, and you're supposed to stay in the sleeper berth for 8 hours, right? You're supposed to take a 10-hour break, then you can't idle your truck. And how are you going to rest? But if you have a dog, you can idle the truck forever. Yeah, look it up. If you have that's why you see a lot of truck drivers that have dogs in their truck. If you have a dog in your truck, it can idle. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So in that 4-day trip
Yeah.
from the Bay Area to Arizona, you made certain observations about broken down trucks. Can you go through those for me?
Okay, on my way down there, I drove all the way. I drove 10. I drove, I drove 5 to the 210 to the 57 to the 10, and I came back a couple of days later. I saw 15 trucks that was on the hook, right, which means they were being towed. I saw 12 trucks had their hood up, and I saw another 8 that was regented. Now, how did I know that? Because you see the sticker on the side that says clean idle truck. So you know it's a newer truck, right? The trucks that had their hoods up, I felt sorry for the guys, because some of them was out in the middle of nowhere, and you know the tow bill was going to be excessive. And also, like the trucks that are regen. Everybody know that's in here what the regen, the urea is, right? So these trucks are going down the road.
Well, wait a
smoking.
second. Why don't you explain that for those that don't understand?
Well, I'm not an expert at it, but I think it's something that deals with cow urine or something like that. It's like urine, right? So it's ammonia,
Smells
basically.
ugly, like,
It's
like
ammonia.
rotten eggs.
Right, so if you're behind a truck like that, you want to close all your vents, you know, and you want to have them get by it. As a highway patrol officer, I've been to a lot of crashes, and some of the crashes were because vehicles were stopped in the lane, right? Now this is a safety issue, and that's what you guys have been talking about here today. A lot of these new trucks, number one, don't have a lot of horsepower. So I'm going up the Grapevine, and in one truck I was driving, I could do 50 miles an hour because it was an older truck. It was a W900, 2000. You have guys that like the Swift who can't drive worth a crap. You're going up 50 miles an hour in the 3-lane, they're in the 4-lane, they'll pull over in front of you at 15 miles an hour. Now, the highway patrol don't want you to go in the 2-lane, but you got to go in the 2 to avoid the crash. So I'm saying all that to say these new trucks, they're a piece of crap. Now, one of the things that happened when I got to Arizona, I got to my hotel, I met a guy there named Anthony Jones. He lives in Sacramento, California. He drives for Allied Van Line. He has a 1999 Freightliner Classic. He parked his truck in Arizona. He can't even come home in his truck because his company would not allow him to drive his truck in California because it's not California compliant, and they're worried that if he crossed the border and CARB stops him, that they're going to hold up the shipment of their goods. So he is a hostage and pays taxes in a place where he can't even drive his own vehicle.
We'll have 2 witnesses tomorrow on that subject. Exactly,
That's right.
spot on that subject. So you, to recap what you observed, 15 trucks that were being towed
Yes, sir.
off the road, 12 that were broken down on the road, and then 8 that were trying to regen, and you could tell by the white smoke.
Yes.
They were off to the side of the road.
No, they were driving.
They were driving.
Yeah.
But when they're regen and driving, that's what reduces the performance?
Well, I think so because from my understanding, I've never had to do that with a truck. I mean, I've done it with a truck with a regen, but I stopped the truck in a safe location because I know better, right? Mm-hmm. But these guys, they're in some of them, because, you know, the trucking business, now that I'm on the other side, wow. Okay, that's why I ain't got no hair, because I understand it now, right? Those guys don't want to stop because there's deadlines. And like, you know, when I had my own truck, right? I mean, I kind of like set my own hours, and I got paid $95 an hour, so I didn't care if I was late, you know. But I had respect of being on time. But these guys don't want to stop, so they regen while they're driving to 35, 40 miles an hour, and then they smoking up the joint. What do most people do when they see a truck smoking? They take their eyes off the road and they focus on the truck. So now you have a safety issue. That's another safety.
Okay. You gave me a couple of numbers. When an EGR sensor goes out, the cost is...
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you an example of a guy. I'm going to try to go kind of quick because I know all you guys want to get home. But another friend of mine, his name is Greg Patterson. He was in the trucking business as an owner-operator for 25 years, and he had a 2000 Freightliner Classic. Well, he bought a 2010 KW T660 with 85,000 miles. The first month, the catalyst broke on it. I don't know what that is, but it was $3,500. And then the second week after that, a dozer valve went out. That was $1,900. And then the filter went out on the 4th month. That was $4,800. And then 6 months after that, the turbo went out because he got water into the turbo. And then 3 weeks after that, he spent $3,300 on another item. To make a long story short, after 1 year of having the truck, the engine blew up and he had to turn it back in. And so as a result, he works for ATS now doing flatbed work. So like one of those ERG sensors, and depending on what happens to the truck, it can cost you $8,000, $9,000. I don't know how many of you guys here, when you take your car in to have some work done and a guy come to you with a bill like $700, you're not going to be happy. Well, imagine $8,000 or $9,000. Okay.
Right. And if the filter goes out, that's
well,
$4,800?
It depends on the kind of truck you got. Like my truck was an 87, so I couldn't put a filter on it because it had a mechanical engine and no computer.
Okay.
So I was gonna buy a 2000 truck. I was gonna buy this nice 2000 truck from a guy that I knew, and I was gonna put a filter on it. Well, it had a Cummins in it and a 600 Cummins. Well, this 600 Cummins, if I went through Cummins, the filter would have been 15,000. If I went through diesel emission, it was gonna be 22,000, because they were saying that if you have a 600 horsepower, the filter will only work up to like 500 or 550 or something like that. So, I mean, so 22,000, 15,000.
So back to that earlier example about the driver that went through that list.
Yeah.
I think you also stated his total repairs were about $25,000.
Yeah, he lost $25,000 in 1 year. He lost $25,000 in 1 year, and basically, when he took the truck back to the company to give it back, the guy told him what that other guy said to somebody, is that you should have planned better. He said, man, I had 20,000 saved up for incidentals, and who would expect this truck to do that?
So the financial picture is, besides the 25,000 he spent in repairs,
Yeah.
he spent 2,800 in tows and
Yeah.
hotels,
Yes, sir.
and then he lost in revenue
About 30,000.
about $30,000.
This guy run a reefer trailer across the United States, right? So he averaged for about $6,000 a week. So with all those days that he lost in hotels and tolls and stuff, it came out to about almost 30,000 a month.
So
30,000 in losses.
So lastly, Jerry, you did some research in the Central Valley around Stockton, Manteca
Yeah.
area just this week, and you came up with labor rates to show how easily these costs can mount. Do you have that, or do you want me to refresh
Well, I
your
have
memory?
it. But before we go there, can I just show this right quick?
You betcha.
Okay. The guy that bought my truck used to own 3 trucks, and it's called. He bought a shop called Ross Roberts in Stockton. It's right behind Blackman's truck. So this guy knows his truck. He has 10 bays where the trucks go in, and I was gonna buy a truck, this particular model of truck, a 2011 Peterbilt. I was gonna buy it in February, right? But he kept telling me, Jerry, do not buy these trucks, man. Don't buy any of these new trucks because they're a piece of junk. Well, yesterday I went to the shop. This truck that went out, the engine went out on it, and it's going to cost that guy $25,000 to have it fixed, repair it, right? Now, this is his rate. If this truck would have went to Kenworth or Peterbilt, it would have been almost $40,000, right? So this truck, right, that's a 2011. It has 436,000 miles. This is a 2012 Volvo that has the same problem, and he had another one in there. He told me that his shop deals with 40 trucks a month with the same problem with the filters. 40. That's not doing oil changes. That's just filters. So his rate is $92.50 an hour. That's cheap. I went 100 yards to the Peterbilt down there. They charge 125 an hour. Okay. Then I went 3 or 4 miles down to Lathrop to the KW dealership. They charge 125 an hour, and if your truck is showing a code or something on the dash, they're going to charge you another $75 just to plug into it to see what the code is. So that's $200, and that's $200. So this gentleman is named Juan Vega. He's a great guy, and he told me the worst engines out there that is dealing with the filters right now that he come across is the CAT. The Cummins is next, then the Volvo, and then the Detroit, right? So I called up Cummins because I used to have a bunch of Dodge pickup trucks, and their rate now is $162 an hour. So, and about 5 years ago, I think it was like 120. So all these guys, the KW, I mean, all the dealers and all that stuff, they're all making a lot of money.
KW is Kenworth.
Kenworth. if you take your truck to Kenworth or Peterbilt and you have a problem with it, now you guys that got trucks, you know this, you got maybe a 3-week wait just to get the truck in the shop to look at it. Mr. Vega, it's 3 days. Now, I'm not advertising, but I'm just saying that he tries to really help the truckers because he understands that. I met a guy at the KW dealership yesterday whose truck was in there. It only had 110,000 miles on it. You know?
Okay, Jerry.
Yes.
That's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to the board members if you folks have any questions, and we're going to start over there. Tell you what.
Yes, sir. First of all, you should work on your personality. You need to come out of your shell.
All right.
A question. You mentioned that they responded to you that they didn't have any authority at the scales. They had no authority. So,
go ahead.
Okay, so how can they ticket if they don't have any authority?
That's what I asked him. I said, how are you going to give somebody a ticket of $1,000 or something, and you don't have an authority? Well, we work for CARB.
But they still, CARB, the entire CARB's not there. So can the truck driver just take off?
Yeah, I mean, what they gonna do? I mean, they can tell us, they could tell the highway patrolman to go chase them, but most of those guys, they're not gonna chase somebody because of that.
Okay, it just kind of boggled my mind there.
It boggled me too. I was like, man, who are you to write somebody a ticket like that and then expect for them to pay for it? And then they'll put a lien on you if you got property and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm honored. Let me say this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have short-term memory loss, so I can't remember nothing after a while. But I mean, that's on purpose because of the job I had. I purposely forgot stuff because it was so devastating, some of the stuff. But today is a great day for me because it's an honor to be here to talk to you guys because I have a lot of friends that are truck drivers, and they're people that are suffering, like the lady that spoke about the oyster farm. I heard about that. And the other guy, the gentleman over there, it's ridiculous, man. It's sad that we as Americans, you know, regardless of what race you are or what political background, we are all a human race, and nobody deserves to be treated like all of us are being treated. Okay?
Amen.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, no, I totally agree with you. And it's interesting to listen to you, especially with that they have, the CARB cops have, I call them the CARB cops.
Yeah.
They have no authority. And that probably we need to have more truckers on the road to realize that. But it's just a shame to what's going on because you're talking here the different trucks you're bringing forward and the problems with them, and the problems are the filters.
Yeah.
You know, and really today we haven't really talked hardly at all about the fires that have been caused by these filters and how hot the filters run. And go ahead.
One thing I got to get out again before I forget is that doing my research, all these big companies like Swift and England and all the big ones, they get rid of their trucks at about 200,000 to 250,000 miles because most of the problems start after 250,000 miles to 275,000, so they get rid of them. One of you guys mentioned something about a warranty on these filters. Well, most of these filters, you can't get a warranty on them. So that's why these guys are losing so much money because like I asked the guy at the dealership, I said, if I buy this truck and I drive down the street and it breaks down and the filter goes out, he said, hey, you bought it as is. So you can't buy a warranty for that.
What about some of the filter companies that have gone out of business so you don't have a warranty any longer?
Exactly. They went out of business because they know that their product has some serious issues.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think there's probably
Jerry,
some others here.
I want to just ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
You attempted to contact the media, did you not, and get them interested in this discussion?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, I contacted Channel 4. I think it was NBC Investigative Unit down in the Bay Area, and I talked to the lady there, one of the producers. But after that, I sent her some emails and stuff that Lauren had sent me, never called me back. I called her back 3 times. I sent her email, nothing. I called the Sacramento Bee yesterday, and I talked to a guy, and he said, yeah, somebody's handling it. I said, well, let me talk to him. He hung up on me, okay? I did get a call back from Ken Wayne today from Channel 2 KTVU out of Oakland. Now, I sent him emails, and I sent him you guys' information, your phone numbers, so hopefully they'll get somebody out here tomorrow. I don't know. I'm beginning to think, you know, like I used to do auto theft, and I used to do a lot of investigating stuff. From what I'm seeing is that if the media don't want to cover the fact that CARB did tests on human beings, then somebody is either afraid or somebody's palms are getting greased. Okay?
Really quickly, sir, you stated that you also drive a bus. And so to that end, and there may be other folks in the room who can answer this question for me. In listening to the talk about fires and the lack of testing and inspection by DOT, it's my understanding that buses also have to be inspected and have to have approval for any parts that are put on them or used by the Department of Transportation. Is that correct?
Well, as far as the DOT parts, I'm not familiar with that, but like the tour buses I drive, that I've driven, that was for Royal Coach, they had filters on them on newer buses. So as far as DOT compliance in that area, I'm not familiar with that.
The reason I ask is that there are literally hundreds of thousands of children in the state of California who are driven daily on buses. And if those buses have to be retrofitted with one of these filters that it is now my understanding can attain a temperature of 2,000 degrees plus, and we don't have a tested methodology for applying those filters in those buses, are we placing those children in jeopardy in those buses with regard to fires, explosions, accidents, all those things through this? So this regulatory board has chosen, without consulting with the school districts or the cities, to place all of our children, hundreds of thousands of children in the state of California, in jeopardy without asking us.
No, it's Pete. You rubbing the mic.
Oh, well, that makes it even better. So the filters are and the motor, which is in the back of the bus where the emergency exit for the bus is.
Right.
Oh, I feel so much better about it now.
Yeah.
And these are educators. I don't know if everybody here is bothered to look at I know everybody here is bothered to look at it, the makeup of the board. But the board are primarily educators. They're professors. They should understand that. Okay, point made, I guess. I'll pass this to the next.
I think you're passing. Anybody else have a question? I just have one last one then, Jerry. I want to thank you for waiting all day, doing the research you've done, and being passionately involved in this. I just want to ask you one last question. What do you consider to be the rudest vehicle on the road?
Toyota Prius. Hey. Yeah. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I used to drive, when I retired, I drove for Adler, the big old red tanks that looked like they're going down the road like that. And man, I came close to going back to become a highway patrolman just so I could write Toyota Prius as driver. They are the worst. If you have a Prius in here, I'm not talking about you, but the rest of y'all, they are the worst drivers I ever seen. They will lane change you. They'll get in the fast lane, won't move, and then they'll pull out in front of you. And then, and that's another thing, if you have a Toyota Prius, if you stop to help somebody in a crash, on the driver's side, that's the electrical line that comes down. Do not touch or rub up against that. It will kill you, okay? So if you're getting out of your car, you got to watch that, okay? Anything else? Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.